Okay, so we are back in with another episode this week. I'm really, really looking forward to this one. I am expecting this one to probably go majorly off topic. God knows what with Alan Partridge or whatever it is we're going to end up talking about. But super, super excited today to be joined by Harry Strike. So Harry, how are you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm very well. I'm very well.
Good, mate. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on as well. Really do appreciate you sharing your time with us. So for those who don't know you, you're obviously a PT and coach out of Ultraflex Gym York at the minute. I know you've been around a few gyms before that, hadn't you, around the York area, but do you just want to give a bit of an introduction to people from where you started to sort of where you are now, dude?
Absolutely. So I've been training for about 10 years now. First started training because in my bedroom, because I needed to have a big operation on my chest. So I said I needed to build up some muscle there. So started training. Now I think back to what I was doing in that sort of training. It was pretty abysmal. I had some, I think my dumbbells went up to 4.5 kilo, and they were from Argos, 4.5 kilo each. So I would do a chest press on my bed and dumbbell flies stood up with dumbbells. I don't know how that works, but
anatomically doesn't work, but fuck it, we'll try it anyway.
It's the thought that counts. So so I started training there when I was probably that was over 10 years ago. So that was 12 years ago when I was 14. Then joined the gym on my 16th birthday because you had to be 16 to join the gym, my local gym. So I would go there after school every single day and train for 3 hours, then come home and eat a Chicago town pizza. So my nutrition was on point. And then came to uni and started actually training. I did film and TV production at uni for God knows why. But started training some of my friends in the gym. And I was like, oh, well, I prefer doing this than my course. I would sort of go to uni and go through the motions, but oh, sweet, I can train this person afterwards, at the gym, and then I can train myself, blah, blah, all that stuff. I'll be taking pre-workout into lectures and I'd get my chicken and rice out in lectures. I was that really annoying guy.
That's YSJ, mate. YSJ didn't care anyway, did he?
And then, then started training at this because I trained at the uni gym for a while, and then trained at the this old school bodybuilding gym, Emperors in York. So I trained there for a few years and then started working behind the desk. And by that point, I'd done my level 2, so I could work behind the desk and stuff. And then I was doing my level 3 while I was at uni. And then just started PTing, but working 40 hours behind the desk and then PTing on top of that. So it was good because I was working a lot of hours and I was basically living in the gym.
Yeah.
And I started PTing there, getting to know everyone, just being there all the time, knowing every single member's name, all the stuff that I'd heard that was I don't even know if I'd heard that it was good to do. I think I just did it
you just naturally
anyway.
do, just get to know people.
Heard that, hey, if you want to be a PT, spend all your time in the gym, and I just did that anyway. So whether that's just says that I've got an awful social life, or just I'm just gonna go with that I'm business savvy. So then, trained there for about 5-6 years, PT'd there for about 3. And then it was actually the physio at Emperors told me that that Ultraflex was opening up in York. And by that point, I'd been to the Normanton one, and that was totally different than Emperors. It was sort of going from
it's another world, isn't it?
First class, yeah. Not that I've ever flown first class, but what I imagine first class to be. And you can't go back to economy, I've heard, since you've done first class. So then I was like, bloody hell, this Ultraflex in Normanton was another level. And then he said, oh, they're opening one in York. So as soon as I heard that, I sort of inquired, and then was there, started working on the first day when it opened a few months later, and then PT'd there from day one, from day dot. So just been PT in there now for, how long has it been open? 2 years, 2 and a bit years.
So, it will be, yeah. It'll be about 2.5 years, won't it?
Yeah.
Coming up.
So, and then I've just started doing a little bit of online stuff, but almost like not even, I've wanted to do online for a while, as well as one-to-one, because I love the one-to-one, like the sort of going in and spending hours in the gym.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to do the online stuff as well on the side. And then it sort of has just come around because people have sort of messaged me saying, do you do online?
Yeah.
And I was like,
I'm not going to say no.
Yeah. So yeah, I've just recently started doing that. So
yeah, I think that's how it starts. It's how it started with me as well, was in terms of online stuff. When me and Soph moved across to York, and I still had clients in Leeds who I could no longer PT, but they didn't want to leave. And they were sort of like, well, can you start up something online? And at that time, it's like, well, I'm never going to say no, but I haven't done this before, so I need to figure this out as I go. And then it just sort of organically grows from there, really. The more sort of time you put into it and the more sort of systems you get in place for running it. But because we went to uni at the same time, didn't we?
Yeah,
we obviously we met. I remember when Sophie got the job at Ultraflex York, and she was showing us the other staff members like yourself that were going to be there, and she showed me you on Instagram, and I was like, I know I recognize him, and I don't know where from. And then obviously it turns out that A, we'd both been at YSJ, and B, we both trained at Emperors. But I recognized you, but we never really crossed paths or anything, which was weird considering York is such a sort of small area and such a close proximity.
And that gym's almost a bit like a sardine tin as well. You sort of, everyone's on top of each other, especially on an evening. So it makes it sort of a strange orgy, but maybe it was.
Yeah, literally. So what you got there? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking coffee. I'm a coffee drinker.
Just a black coffee.
Oh no, I've got a bit of milk in there. I'm not dieting anymore. I've decided.
Have you come out of that now then?
A little bit. I was sort of getting to the stage where I'd reached that stage where I'd lost a lot of water, lost some fat, but I was still gaining strength. I was still sort of strong in the gym, and the pumps were ridiculous.
Yeah,
and then after a few weeks, and I'd sort of reached that stage, maybe like I think it was like 8 weeks or something, and then I'd reached that stage where I just started to feel like depleted, and the client base was actually getting busier, which was great, and I didn't want it started to affect that, where I was just getting I was sort of feeling really fatigued after my training, and then it was carrying on into when I was training people afterwards. So I was like, if it's affecting that, it's not even worth it, because I'm not doing a show. I'm just dieting for my own vanity. So
that's the point. I suppose it gets to a point where that fatigue's just compounding up, the leaner and leaner you get. And like I said, when you're busy, especially with one-to-one PT with manual stuff, you're going to have to make that decision of, am I going to keep pushing this, potentially do like a diet break or a refeed for a bit and try and sort of drag this out as long as I can? Or is it just a case of, do you know what, I've taken it as far as I need to, let's bump food back up and start reverse dieting back up. And then you've got more energy to actually, like you said, put back into work. Now it's getting busier. Because for you as well, because one thing that I've always noticed that you do really well with people is actually teach them how to actually activate the muscles they're trying to hit and how to connect them. And that takes a hell of a lot of hands-on work of physically manipulating and moving people around, doesn't it?
And something that I like to do, and I think it's really good to do in sessions, is that you try and either match, if someone's quite energetic that you're training, try and match their energy, or like be more energetic than them, like not sort of crazy, like bouncing off the wall standard, but you can't just be like mulling around and
for every client.
Like they're paying for your service, and you can't be like, oh well, I'm tired because I'm dieting and just stood there. So now when it started to affect that, I sort of was like I'm just bumping up the calories a little bit, not going crazy, but I had I just wanted to get rid of some excess weight and see some veins in my abs, which I did.
Definitely done that.
A couple of seconds at one point with good acting. I was like, that's it.
It freaked. The first time I ever saw that freaked me out. Like proper freaked me out. Like, what the fuck? I didn't even know you could get veins on your abs. Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, but no, it's. I'm just gonna try and stay like relatively lean-ish, and then just build from there, because I have a tendency to diet down quite lean And then as soon as I think I'm going into a massing phase or bulking or whatever, I'll just eat everything in sight.
You can't go down pizzas back into the diet plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, those are the days.
Literally.
That's actually one thing that I wish I hadn't done when I was younger. I wish I hadn't I was 18 and then I would I want to diet because I want to see my abs. And then I'd sort of yo-yo diet from 18 to 22, up and down. And I wish now that I'd just stuck out in a surplus, maybe a couple of a couple of little mini cuts potentially, depending on how hard I went.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think when you're in your late teens, early 20s, just eat a lot of good food, be in a surplus and reap the rewards of that, of your testosterone just being through the roof.
Literally, yeah. I mean, I was really similar because when I got into training, it was from a background of wanting to lose some fat because I'm not a fat child, but chubbier as a child, and I was conscious of it. And then through my teens, it just became that case of when I'd diet down because I'd want to get leaner. And then when I was happy, I'd be like, right, I'll bulk now. But the second then I start putting body fat on, I'm like, right, stop the bulk. I need to diet again. And it's just you're just backwards and forwards. And I must have spent 4 or 5 years doing that through that sort of prime age, like you said, of when your testosterone spikes and you should be able to make some really good gains. You end up limiting your actual progression so much just because of that constant back and forth, don't you? But you did a competition, didn't you? Was one of the first things you did. Was it Matt August or something, or Chris? Some competition.
Oh, it was it was the so I'd done it was a Christian Guzman. He had done a little competition where if you did the best transformation, there was 5 different things. This was back when I watched all of those fitness YouTubers and stuff back in the day.
You did it yourself for a bit, didn't you? You did a few videos.
I did. Oh, we'll get onto that, son. So he had said, oh, this was back in 2000, I think it's 17. I think we're talking, and he was like, oh, do this. Do this transformation, and you'll get a 5,000 or 2,000 gift voucher for Alphalete. I was like, say no more. So yeah. So then I started dieting down, and at that point I was probably I don't know, 20% body fat or something. I had a bit of muscle, but back then, this was 4 years ago, and I wasn't tracking any sort of macros. I wasn't tracking any weights. I was just going in the gym and just doing a load of random stuff. So I didn't have a decent muscle base anyway. And then so God knows why I did it. And then I started to get quite lean. I didn't have a coach or anything, just did it all myself. And then I was like, oh well, I'm getting lean anyway, I might as well just do a show. So then
as you do.
So yeah. And so I was like, well, what are any natural shows? And I found this UK DFBA one. It was the USM Classic. I was like, that's kind of around about the time where the cutoff for this Christian Guzman, summer shredding competition ends, and it's near the end of that. So they could kind of work, succinctly, together, basically. So then I did actually diet down quite hard. But I did the classic thing of first day of the diet, 45 minutes on the Stairmaster. So I'd reached that. I had nowhere else to push after.
You've got to maintain it then, hadn't you? You've got to keep it going.
So at the time, I was working at Urban Outfitters, 9 till 5, as a menswear team leader. And, yes. And that was the peak of my career. And they would literally just put me out downstairs in the menswear. And the Urban Outfitters in York is the menswear is literally underground.
It's a hot room, isn't it? Proper room.
It's horrendous. It is awful. I could probably sketch that room brick for brick. I've spent that long down there. They would literally just send me down there for 8 hours and just especially when I was in the midst of my diet. They were just just put him down there. It's fine. So I did the show, dieted down, and actually got relatively lean to say that I didn't really have a coach. I had some striations in my glutes. So I was doing all that stuff.
Hard to do. That is, you've got to be, to get your glutes striated, you've got to be very lean everywhere else.
I felt horrendous. I remember at work, walking upstairs was my legs felt ridiculously heavy. like picking up a t-shirt off the floor. I'd like feel like dizzy when I stood up. I was like, this is definitely healthy. And so then I did the show, and it was I came third in the UK DFBA novice men's physique,
which is good. Which is considering the peak, it doesn't get much better than that. But considering that you'd literally just decided to do it last minute, you didn't have a coach, weren't really tracking anything. That is very good going.
Yeah, I mean, I'd got my Hurley board shorts from the Nike outlet, and I got them like a few weeks before the show, and I guess I'd lost a little bit more weight since buying them. So literally on stage, all I can remember is thinking, my shorts are falling down, my shorts are falling down. Like, they're going to be around my ankles, but I cannot look down.
Imagine that if your shorts had fallen down on stage mid-pose. I just hope it had been a walk. That'd be the only thing.
So then, I did the show. But on show day, I know everyone says this, but on show day, like, I looked awful because we'd gone to this hotel. It was in Rugby. So we'd gone to this hotel. And I had all my bro meals. I had my asparagus and my white fish. But like, I should have had one of those Chicago Town pizzas. That would have really filled me out. Yeah. But so I'd done all this, and I hadn't I'd all the stuff that I'd researched, and because I was just looking up stuff on YouTube of how to diet for a show. They'd said, well, if you're not taking any steroids, then don't manipulate your water, don't manipulate your salt, just keep everything the same, because that's what your body's used to. You don't want to just go totally wild the day before the show or the day of the show. So I just kept everything the same, just ticking along. And then had some like Reese's peanut butter cups before and everything. And realistically, I should have eaten a load more because I was flat as anything. So I'd got these bro meals like in my room, and then I realized, well, there's no fridge, and I've got white fish and asparagus. So I had to open the window, leave them on, and there's no microwave to heat them up, no fridge to keep them cool. So I was like, right, okay, well, I'll open the window, and this is like in May, so it's not going to get very cold in the night, but it might keep them a tiny bit more chilled than they would in my bag. Kept them by the window, and there's like 5 of these bloody things. And then I don't know what was happening that evening, but the amount of drunk people that were walking by the hotel, I was like literally up like every half hour, covered in this fake tan. Didn't wear any pajamas because I didn't even realize that you had to wear. I don't know. I've never worn fake tan before, so I woke up and literally like it was like there was some sort of strange protest that I'd done against the hotel
across the ship.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd the day of the show, did all my stuff, came third, and then just pigged out for a good few weeks and just gained loads of fat.
Yeah. So, it happens though, doesn't it? There's so many stories of people doing shows and then just doing that afterwards, just basically going back to normal eating and gaining like 10 kilos or more within like 2 weeks, just ballooning back up.
Oh, I looked decent for the day after. I remember the day of the show, we were driving back in the car and I was eating cherry Bakewells. I had Krispy Kremes. We were driving to Burger King. And I was wearing these shorts and I could just see the veins in my legs like coming out. I was like, I should have done this like 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
And then the post-show pumps were ridiculous because you're shaved and you're still tanned and you're still lean. So it was ridiculous. And I'm yet to get that back really.
Is that something that you want to do again? I've been meaning to ask you that.
I was gonna do another show in 2021. So beginning of last year, and then all of COVID hit.
Yeah.
And
is that when you were with Will?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we went into lockdown, and I just said to Will, I was like I think I'd been with him for a few weeks. Then we went into lockdown, and I was with him for another couple, but I just wasn't motivated to train because in the apartment that I was in at the time, the one near you and Sophie's.
Yeah.
Obviously there was no garden, there was no garage.
So I would literally want that.
Yeah, and I had no equipment. All I had was a couple of bands, and it's just as much as you can do with bands and things like that. I simply wasn't motivated to train, and I felt like, well, I'm definitely. I don't even know if the show's going to go ahead. First thing, and I'm just not putting in the effort to warrant having a coach. So I just said to Will, I was like, I was just straight up with him, and I just said, I'm not motivated to train, and I don't even know if I really want to do the show anymore. So he was fine about it, and so I was going to do one last year, and then I was going to do one this year. And then I don't know. I think it's a good idea for like 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then I just think like totally just being totally transparent. I just don't think I'm that motivated to diet down.
You're just not that
like
bothered.
No, like I love training, and I love training people. But for me to put myself through that, because as hard as it is physically, it's so hard mentally as well. Even though last time I just did it totally, kind of not almost like the wrong way, but, just by smashing cardio every single day and weights and everything. And it would probably be even worse this time because I'd want to get even leaner. So I really need to be in that mind, in that headspace where I can dedicate everything, not just a couple of weeks and be like, yeah, this is great. And then a month later be like, I'm not really getting a pump and I want to go out and have a bottle of wine. So
there needs to be like a clear reason sort of as to why you want to do it, don't there? To just
exactly.
And like I said, if it gets to the point where it starts to affect you at work and obviously how you are with clients, you don't want that either. So there needs to be a motivating factor there to put you through that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I take my hat off to the people that really, diet down hard, because it's not an easy feat by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
it's not just the tiredness. It when it starts to mess with your hormones and you just have no energy to do anything. It's awful.
So you mentioned at the start, obviously, when you had to have the operation on your chest and you started doing some workouts in your room. Was that like your first introduction to fitness then, or did you play sports or anything before that?
No, I didn't really do anything, unless playing Call of Duty means playing sports.
Definitely counts. Definitely counts.
But no, not really. Like, I'd play PE. But I remember dodgeball in about year 3. But no, I think I'm trying to remember now. Like, I've always been sort of interested in the gym in terms of actually gaining muscle, because I actually do have pictures of myself, as a kid doing like bicep shots. I remember I would do the vacuum in like year 4, like doing some like Frank Zane shit, like, and stuff like that. So, and
Arnold on repeat with the Rocky soundtrack in your bedroom as you're training.
Exactly. I always loved all the Arnie films and all the like Sylvester Stallone, even from being ridiculously young. And I think when I was a kid, I had every action man going. So I feel like that's like a weird thing where like you see like kids' toys, or maybe they aren't, maybe they're different now. I don't know, with all the bloody political correctness stuff. But back then, like all my toys when I was a kid were absolutely jacked. Like Wolverine had like 0.05 body fat. This like lycra yellow suit, and just like aesthetics to the max. Chris Bumstead, eat your heart out sort of thing.
Literally, even like your action men, like the scuba guy that you'd get on the action men, was absolutely stacked up, and you're like, that's not helping anyone swim.
No, not at all. Like I've never seen serratus muscles on a human as big as I did on my action men. Absolutely mental.
Growing up, that is normal. That is what I'm going to look like as I get older.
Yeah. Well, I still have that. I still have that probably in my subconscious. Like, I need to look like Wolverine.
Still got it on your desk, just like one day.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's like I thought about that a while back. I was like, that's definitely like caused some sort of mental image in so many guys from years and years of being like.
The reverse is the same with women, whereas all their toys were very glamour, very sort of perfect figures, makeup and everything in it. And it's just that just sort of distorted beliefs as well. Okay, is this how we're meant to look?
Yeah, it's really weird, bar the big claws coming out of the hands.
Yeah. That's taking it a step too far.
Well, yeah.
So when you did that sort of first diet down in that first show, would you say that sort of changed you at all? Or just from like a discipline point of view, would you say you took anything from that experience?
Yeah. So, well, I sort of think of it like you have to go through that obsessive stage to get to a point where you can be a bit more relaxed about it. So when I was dieting, obviously I was very, very disciplined. But as soon as I finished dieting, I said to myself, I'll never, ever doing that again. You know, I just, like, I almost got fired from Urban Outfitters, actually, just for not having enough energy. I was like, yeah, fair play, just fire me. Okay.
I don't even care.
Yeah. And yes, I think but it did make me a lot more disciplined. I'm trying to think, because it was like 4 years ago. I think before that, I just, with my, you know, eating regime and everything like that, it wasn't that great, I don't think. But I think when I was at uni, I went through a stage, I think it was like, it must have been third year, I think, because I don't really remember going out much in third year. And I kind of do regret it, because I feel like I went through a stage where, and I think a lot of people have to go through that obsessive stage, where there's, you know, where there's nothing else really matters. You'll give up, you know, you'll not go to family events, you'll not go to this or that because you need to train, you need to get your protein in and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I think back to like those, like that year or something when I was like that. And I sort of do regret it, because it's, you know, there's a lot more.
I missed out on a lot of experiences.
Yeah,
I feel like you can make better. Do you know, I completely relate to that, because I've spent my time at uni doing the exact same thing. Like for me, I'm never a big like going out person anyway, so it wasn't something I was ever like really battling against, like, oh, I wish I could go out, but I've got to stay on plan. But it was a case of when I did go out, I was very conscious of, well, if I drink this and if I have another drink, then tomorrow I'll probably have to take something out of my food, and then it's going to affect my training.
Yeah.
And it was always like more of a, like you said, like an obsessive niggle in the back of your mind that it's just like, this isn't what I'm meant to be doing. This isn't on plan. And it does stop you from, like you said, even just with family occasions and whatnot, like it does stop you from actually enjoying a lot of the stuff that you're meant to be doing. Like this was more recently, I think this was about just before lockdown. I had one of my best mates from uni, his stag do and his wedding. And for both the stag do and the wedding, I was dieting for my first photo shoot. So I didn't drink on it. I didn't eat anything. The wedding, I didn't drink and I didn't eat anything. And like, yes, that was for a specific purpose for the photo shoot. But then at the same time, it's like, you do miss out on a lot. And looking back, you're like, I do wish I'd have made more use of my time and enjoyed myself a little bit more.
Yeah. But I think going alongside that, you almost have to go through that stage to come out on the other side.
Totally.
Because fair enough, like, for you, it was almost like for your business, you know, like the photo shoot and everything, you had a goal, and things like that, which, you know, I think I understand a lot more. Whereas when I was just being this obsessive, you know, person that only thinks about the gym, there was no end goal, you know. It wasn't like I was dieting down for anything. It was just like, I can't go out because I need to train chest in the morning or whatever, you know. But then, I needed to go through that stage. And I've heard quite a lot of people say it, where they just come out on the other side and realize, actually, if I'm more chilled about this, and I don't stress about missing a meal, I don't stress about this, I just enjoy it, I'm actually going to progress a lot more in the gym. I'm going to enjoy my life a lot more. And because I think that's one of the things that is almost wrong with the fitness industry at the moment, where people think it's an all or nothing thing, where I always say to my clients, like, it shouldn't take away from your life at all. This should always add to your life.
It should. I like to say to clients on that, it should complement, not coincide.
Yes. That actually sounds a lot better than what I say. It's, I like the alliteration though. It's nice.
You can have it, take it, use it.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, it should always, it should always add to your life. You shouldn't be restricted just because you want to gain some muscle or lose some fat. Yeah, restricted in the fact that don't eat a full cheesecake on a night, but not that you can't see any of your family or friends because you're trying to lose 10 pounds, So yeah, the dieting for the show did sort of change me in the fact that it made me realize how disciplined I can be. But then on the flip side, as I came out of it, it made me realize like I really don't need to be that disciplined though, because it didn't actually bring me any joy. It actually just it was a great experience, and I wouldn't change doing the show because it was I learned a lot about like my body and what I can what I can tolerate and things like that. But it wasn't like oh, I want to do that again.
You sort of you do it for the experience, almost to challenge yourself and know that you've got that in you, like you've got that capability to be that rigid. But then, like you said, if you never do it, there's always potentially that side of, well, am I capable of doing that? Could I push myself to that limit if I wanted to? So like I said, it is something that you need to go through. And it's similar to like, again, what I say to clients when they're like, oh, can we try intuitive eating, or can we try mindful eating practices? Or they basically sort of say, can we do something other than tracking? And it's like, we can do, because you don't want to be tracking your food for the rest of your life. But you've got to have that understanding of, like, you've got to track for a certain amount of time to get that understanding with nutrition, to know what you're eating, to know how to structure your meals, so that then you can actually go away from it and start doing it without having to track and do it intuitively. And it's sort of the same thing here. You have to sometimes go through that extreme process to then come out the other side and be like, right, I can actually be a lot more relaxed with this and still make really, really good progress, because I've seen the extreme of it and I've done my time and now I know how to manage it.
Yes. Well, that's sort of like this past 8 weeks, I've been restricted in terms of being in a deficit, but I've still gone out and had meals. I've still gone out and drank wine or, had some pints or whatever, but just realizing that, well, I can have that and I'm not going to stress about it, because stressing about it would actually have more detriment than if I've, like, it baffles me. It's like people will eat a meal and it's like, well, okay, enjoy the meal, you've eaten it, but now don't stress about it, because that's gonna be more detriment to you now. You've already eaten the meal, so it's not like stressing about it is going to reverse that. So in these past few weeks I've just been a lot more relaxed about it, still been in a deficit, but just enjoyed myself and actually felt a lot better, and just got a lot more sort of from it, because I've just enjoyed the process. And then, as I said, getting down to, as your body fat drops and drops and drops, then you'll start to feel some of the fatigue effects. But now I'm at a body fat that I like, and it didn't really, I didn't kill myself in the process.
Didn't take away from your life or just from your actual enjoyment and experience?
No, not at all. There wasn't one thing there was one thing, but it was only that my friends were getting a takeaway and I'd already eaten quite a lot in the day. So they got a full takeaway, and it looked okay, but it wasn't like one of those ones where they get it and I'm like, oh, I really, really want it, but I didn't order anything. But because I had some beef and avocado that was lovely actually, so delightful. Little things like that. But I was like, well, this is like, I could go and get a takeaway, but that is it will be on a huge amount of calories, because they were getting cheesecake and everything. It did look nice, but it smelt horrendous in the morning though.
So in terms of that misconception around the extremities, or going to extreme lengths with tracking and sort of that perception, is there anything that you would say you would change in the fitness industry? Would that be like the main thing that you'd want to change in the fitness industry if you could, or is there something else?
I'd say either that or doing glute kickbacks on the stepper.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I'd say just realizing that it's not an all or nothing approach, and that you're, being able to enjoy, and I suppose it is coming out more with, James Smith on Instagram, like sort of showing that you don't have to be absolutely shredded and you can actually enjoy yourself. and still, have a decent physique and just, enjoy yourself. But yeah, I'd say just being able to, make progress and actually potentially make more progress if you're a little bit more, if you enjoy the process more, and if you, if you're not so rigid and strict with everything.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Like, it all gets better the more relaxed you become, and just the more consistent you can be, and the more of a lifestyle it becomes instead of like a short-term fix for a problem or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So who would you say then, along sort of your journey from starting in the bedroom, doing your press-ups and your dumbbell presses to where you are now, sort of who's inspired you along the way? Would you say who's been the sort of motivating people that you've followed or looked to?
So it's definitely changed across the years. So I remember seeing a Jeff Side video.
That's a blast from the past.
Yeah. Is he still around? I remember seeing that on YouTube, and this was like one of the first ever. This was like back when he had just joined Gymshark, I think, and there was like him and Matt Ogus and Lex Griffin. Yeah. So then through a Jeff Side video, I found Lex, and I was like, oh, this guy's like he's from the UK. Like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then so I started watching loads of his videos, and by this point, did I know what Gymshark was? I don't even know. I remember one of my housemates, he had got a Gymshark top in first year of uni, so it was just 2013. Must have been then. And I think the Gymshark logo wasn't even straight on the t-shirt. It was I'm pretty certain it was when they were still printing them like in the in the back of the house. And if he still has that, that's going to be worth an absolute mint. So I remember him having that, and I think so maybe I did know what Gymshark was, and then it was like Lex, and then I was following like Christian Guzman and all those sort of people for years, and like Rob Lipset and stuff. But now it's a lot more on like the educational side of things, like Muscle Mentors, Joe Bennett, like hypertrophy coach. I was actually a huge fan of John Meadows, RIP. Because I went to a seminar, 3-day seminar with him and Eugene Tiao. Eugene Tiao's Tiao, I think.
I'll let you give it a go, but I know you mean.
Eugene, yeah. When he watches this later, he'll be correcting me.
He'll be straight into DMs. He just don't need to let that last.
And I remember going to a seminar at FLF, a 3-day seminar in Manchester. And John Meadows and Eugene were taking it. And I remember John put me through this set on the leg press, and it was literally the hardest set I've ever done in my life. Apart from the fact that I just trained legs the day before, it was still ridiculously difficult.
And it's horrible because you can't not do it. Like, it's John Meadows over you. There's no way you're not going to not do it.
Exactly. He was like really, really nice guy. And I know everyone says like, oh, I met this person at Body Power. Like, he was really down to earth and things like that, whatever that means. And like, that's always like, they don't like get a picture of Simeon Panda and be like, this guy was so annoying, but here's a picture of me with him. Like, they're always like praising them. But it's like John Meadows was like, he was really, really lovely guy. So he was a huge one. And I'm still doing a little bit of like the mountain dog training at the moment, like the way he would structure his workouts. So yeah, it's definitely moved more from the Instagram-y type, like Gymshark people who have got a lot of, like, I learned a hell of a lot of stuff from them, from just watching hours and hours of content of like, of YouTube fitness influencers. But yeah, I'd say it's a lot more like the educational side of things now, like with the sort of, biomechanics side of things. And as I said, mentors and hypertrophy coach, and trying to think who else. I think that's, they're like the three.
I know when we've spoken about it in the past, obviously when me and Soph were still over in York, and it was always around Eugene, Muscle Mentors, Ben Pakulski, that kind of stuff.
Yes, Ben Pakulski is another one, yeah.
Yeah, just chatting around that, like you said, that sort of the education of not so much from a nutrition point of view, but certainly more from a training, and definitely with the muscle mentors, like the lifestyle point of view and like their sort of educational platform in regards to stress, sleep, digestion, the female hormone cycle and everything. And learning about that stuff like is just a game changer from a coaching point of view as well. Like learning to understand that stuff was just mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So would you say that then, because that's probably answering the next question really, is that they're your sort of top mentors that you've had over the years?
I would say so, yeah. I can't think there's been PTs in the past, past gyms and Ultraflex that I've taken a lot from, but in terms of actual training knowledge, like I've taken more from the business side of things from past PTs that I've worked with that have been PTing for years, they've been PTing for years, but yeah, in terms of actual training knowledge, it's definitely a lot more from people from Instagram as opposed to people in person. So like we said, like Joe Bennett and Eugene and people like that, and just from different podcasts as well, and from like classic bodybuilders like Dorian Yates and people like that. Like, not that I wouldn't necessarily call them mentors, because I don't really know how you'd even define that, but just taking different things from all those different people. So I'd say if there was like a top two, it would be Hypertrophy Coach and Eugene, I'd say. Because it's funny actually. So I actually found Eugene years ago on a John Meadows video. And this was when like Eugene had like, I don't even know if he had 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Like he had like no real content or anything. But for some reason, I just really liked how he sort of set things out and how he did things. And it was a lot more of that relaxed approach where it was just like, it was very sort of like unconventional. But so it wasn't boring, It wasn't like, do 3 sets of 10 on the bench, then do 3 sets of 10 on this, 4 sets of 10 on this, whatever it was. So it was a lot more. It was something that I'd never really seen before. But yeah, I remember. I haven't really thought about that in years actually. But yeah, so he was like unknown. I was like, oh, this guy's kind of cool, and then just.
Eugene's style of training is very much like, certainly when you get into like the activation exercises and cues and stuff that he teaches, it's the sort of stuff that like, when the standard sort of just gym goer sees it, they'll literally be like, what the hell are they doing? Like, that looks weird. But then as soon as you get them to do it, they're like, this is literally ridiculous. Like, I've never felt my lats before until now.
So like the amount of stuff that I use with clients now that I've just nicked off him, I'm like, oh yeah.
Same.
It works straight away. It literally works straight away.
It does. And even if it's just like, because obviously with like you can apply it to a much more advanced training style, but even just with like your Gen Pop everyday person, it's really useful just for actually teaching them, okay, this is how it feels to actually contract your lats. This is how it feels to actually contract your pec. Because then they can actually use that in other exercises and picture it and be like, okay, this is the feeling that I'm meant to be going for.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of just doing a seated row and being like, this is difficult just because I'm pulling weight. Well, if you do this slight little thing with your shoulder, it'll still be difficult, but you'll actually feel the muscle and get a lot more from it than it just being difficult for the sake of being difficult. Yeah,
100%. I love Eugene. He's just his style. He's just his personality. Obviously, it's why he's got so popular as well as his knowledge, because he's just a bit of a nutter, isn't he? Really, with some of the stuff he puts on. Have you watched his lives on Instagram before?
Yeah.
I've watched them a few times, and every time I've logged on, he's just been stood there with a coffee, just like singing into the camera, just some absolute random like rock song, just singing away for like 5 minutes, and then it just doesn't stop. And then he'll be like, "Okay, I'll answer a few questions now," and then I'm back to my singing.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy.
He's class. So, dude, for anyone who's wanting to find you or ask you any questions or anything like that, Harry, where can they find you? What's the best place to get in touch with you?
So the best place is my OnlyFans. My Instagram is I always forget where the underscore is on my Instagram. So I've got it here. So it's strike fitness _PT.
And so that's got the link in the bio to the OnlyFans.
Yes. Yeah. So, be ready. You've been warned.
Purely sci-fi erotica. No, that's great, dude. What I'll do is I'll tag that as well in the show notes below as well, so anyone can just follow straight to that to get in touch with you. So just before we finish, can you leave us with something inspirational, putting you on the spot? What's the one thing, if someone's struggling right now, what's the one bit of advice that you'd give them?
Oof. So I did actually read this question. I was like, hell. What am I gonna say? So I would sort of, whenever I'm like, you know, feeling down or whatever, like, you know, just sort of comparing myself to others. First off, never compare yourself to others, like ever. You know, it's such a waste of time. But I would sort of go more down the Gary V route of the fact that you're actually a human is you've literally won the universe lottery.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, he puts it in that it's 400 trillion to 1 that you're even a human on Earth instead of anything else. So that you've literally won the lottery. And I think that a lot of people should practice being grateful a lot more. Gratitude is such an underrated, you know, sort of quality that you know, you can't be grateful and angry at the same time.
Yeah.
So I would say just, you know, this could be horrendous advice, but just realize that the fact that you're a human being on Earth, you've got, you know, you could be like an antelope in the wild being ripped apart by a pack of hyenas.
Yeah.
But
just puts it into context.
You were born a human, and you were born a human in the 21st century. The people
what a
have
time
got
to be alive.
Exactly. This is literally the best in human history, the best time to be alive in terms of technology, medicine, transport, you know, just society, culture in general. You could not have, you know, have timed it more perfectly than this.
No, I think that's spot on. Dude, thank you for coming on, Harry. Really, really enjoyed having you. And I knew it would just go off on tangents for pretty much the whole thing. But it's so much better when it's like that, dude. Thank you for sharing your time with us, mate, and your tips. And like I said, I'll drop your Instagram handle below. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, they know where to find you, dude. But thank you very much.
No worries, mate. Thank you for inviting me.
Speak to you soon, dude.